नमस्कार। आज हम बात करेंगे कम्युनिकेशन विद डेफ के विषय में और इस विषय पर जानकारी देने के लिए आज मैं डॉक्टर हेमलता आप लोगों के साथ हूं और मेरे साथ हैं डॉक्टर मदन वशिष्ठ जो इंडियन साइन लैंग्वेज रिसर्च एंड ट्रेनिंग सेंटर के चीफ एडवाइजर हैं। डॉक्टर मदन वशिष्ठ इंडियन साइन लैंग्वेज के फील्ड में एक बहुत जाना माना नाम है। पूरी दुनिया में इंडियन साइन लैंग्वेज के विषय में डॉक्टर मदन वशिष्ठ को एक बहुत अच्छे एक्सपर्ट के रूप में माना जाता है और ये ग्लाउडेट यूनिवर्सिटी वॉशिंगटन में प्रोफेसर हैं। डॉक्टर मदन वशिष्ठ ISLRTC के साथ चीफ एडवाइजर के तौर पर जुड़े हुए हैं। आइए जानते हैं कि क्या इम्पोर्टेंस है कम्युनिकेशन की हमारी लाइफ में। हर ह्यूमन बीइंग कम्युनिकेट करता है और ये कम्युनिकेशन ही हमें एनिमल्स से अलग बनाता है। एनिमल्स कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर पाते हैं, भाषा का इस्तेमाल वो नहीं करते हैं। ह्यूमन बीइंग भाषा का इस्तेमाल करते हैं और हम जब बच्चा छोटा होता है तो वो अपनी सभी सेंसेस के द्वारा सीखता है। इन सभी सेंसेस के इस्तेमाल से उसका विकास होता है, भाषा का विकास होता है, कम्युनिकेशन जानता है और दुनिया के बारे में बहुत सारी जानकारी हम कम्युनिकेशन के माध्यम से प्राप्त करते हैं। लेकिन अगर बच्चे में बचपन से डेफनेस है, वो अगर सुन नहीं पा रहा है या बोल नहीं पा रहा है तो कम्युनिकेशन का एक माध्यम जो है वो रुक जाता है और लैंग्वेज ना होने से, सुनाई न देने के कारण उनके कम्युनिकेशन में कुछ अवरोध उत्पन्न हो जाता है। इस कम्युनिकेशन अवरोध को किस तरह से दूर किया जाए, कैसे डेफ बच्चों के साथ में कम्युनिकेशन किया जा सकता है और अर्ली स्टेज पर अगर हमें पता चल जाता है कि बच्चा डेफ है तो किन किन बातों का ख्याल रखना चाहिए, इन सभी बातों की जानकारी देने के लिए हमारे साथ हैं डॉक्टर मदन वशिष्ठ। डॉक्टर वशिष्ठ, ये बताइए कि अगर बच्चा डेफ पैदा होता है तो वो किस तरह से लर्निंग करता है। डेफ बच्चों की लर्निंग और अन्य बच्चों की लर्निंग में क्या डिफरेंस है?
There is a big difference. Hearing children, they hear constantly and they pick up very quickly from the environment. The children who can't hear, they don't get to learn so much because the information is limited for them. After the age of 5, till the age of 5, the hearing children pick up a lot of things. They know how to talk, they learn language, they understand everything. But for deaf children, this is not the situation. When they start their schooling, they don't know what is ABCD. They don't know what is the alphabet. Besides that, the brain, if the brain is not used, then it becomes difficult for the brain to pick up language. As a baby, a child picks up language very quickly. And as a baby, if the child is not exposed to language, as he grows up, it becomes very difficult for him to pick up language. Then he finds difficulty in writing. When a child is able to hear, a hearing child will always be able to hear, and a deaf child hears through his eyes. He picks up everything visually. He grows through the visual methods. So sign language is really a good option to use for deaf people, for deaf children, because through sign language he'd be able to then pick up the written language and be able to be at par with the other hearing children of his own age. There are very few deaf people who are hard of hearing, so they can benefit from oral speech, but the children who are completely deaf, you need to use sign language for them.
And how can we teach communication effectively to the deaf children?
When you teach signs, teach concepts, you will see small children of the age of 6 months. If they start signing, they learn and they are at par with hearing children of the same age. They develop their skills, they develop language, they understand grammar and they become skilled in the language. And then they use that language base to pick up the writing skills. They would be at par with their brothers and sisters, hearing brothers and sisters.
So sometimes the children use like sign language. You mean to say we need to teach them sign language at the early stage of life. And there are some children who use lip reading. So what is the importance of lip reading? And
lip reading is very difficult because 30% of the words seem same and 70 is what you cannot really catch. Plus, you have to pick up words from the person. Lip reading is not a skill, it's an art. You know, some people are really good at lip reading, and some people, they would try all their life but they would fail in lip reading because lip reading is not easy. So deaf individuals, there are probably some deaf individuals are good with lip reading, but those who are not, they can really use sign language. There are a lot of hearing people who also do lip reading. But if there are some deaf people, if you see a deaf child, if he can hear a little bit and he uses lip reading, if he can do lip reading, then that's fine. And another deaf child, if he only signs, it's good that we continue to use sign language with him.
Is there any way through which we can teach them lip reading, or we can promote lip reading in children?
There are many children who use, if there is a slight hearing and they've got a good hearing aid, and if there's a lot of practice, lot of therapy, then a deaf child will be able to do lip reading. And it might benefit him also. But if it's not going to benefit, we should not waste time. We should, if a deaf child is unable to pick up speech therapy or lip reading for a very long time, for 2 years, 3 years, we should stop wasting time and not delay. We should give the next option of training the child with sign language. If speech doesn't help, then we must change and start using sign language, because we need to save time. We should not keep waiting till the child picks up something.
And I've seen people using sign language, and there are people who use different sign language. Is the sign language same for all, or is there any difference in sign language?
In India being a big country, the sign language is same. When people come together, like people from Calcutta or from Delhi or from Bombay, they come, we can communicate easily with each other. There's no problem as such. But if the deaf people who've come up from villages, they have different signs altogether. Some signs that you've never seen before. Because deaf people, when they meet each other, they start interacting with each other. And deaf people invent signs for their communication. So Indian Sign Languages in the cities or in the urban areas is the same. But in the rural areas, we are not very sure how it is, because there's been no research as such on rural sign language. So how many signs are there? How do they sign? How many deaf people are there? What variety of signs are they using? So this will be really a beautiful thing. It will be a new thing for us. But yes, there is this difference.
And we generally hear that there is oralism and there is a sign language. So what is the difference between oralism and sign language?
This is a war that's been ongoing for nearly 1,000 years now, where people who promote sign language say that, we are right, and people who are using oralism, they say that they are right, and this is never going to end. So I don't support any of these. I really say that if there is a deaf child, and we need to see what is his need. If that child is going to benefit through the oral methods, we should give him that. And if the child is going to benefit through sign language, give him that. And if we are giving sign language to one child, or we're giving oral training through oralism to one child, we should also give him something through sign language. Because research shows that deaf people who have been trained in oral methods and have also given sign language training, they benefit a lot. So a combination of both is going to be very different, very good. And deaf people's needs are always different from each other. So what's going to benefit, what is his need, we should give the child that.
And what is this total communication and how it affects the deaf?
There is some confusion here. Total communication is not a method. It's a philosophy. The philosophy really is about the sign language, oral methods. We need to give both to deaf people, to deaf children. We need to give them education. And in India, this total communication has really turned out to be signing and speaking at the same time, which is not right, because it's very difficult, because we are trying to combine two languages at one time. If we cannot speak in Hindi and English at the same time, like we speak something in Hindi like मैं जा रहा हूँ, and in English I am going. If we have to combine the two together, so we will say मैं हूँ जा रहा. We will confuse the language. So total communication is really confusing two languages together. It is not scientific. Research has shown, but there are a lot of people who say that TC is good. So it's a difficult situation really.
When a child is born in a family and the child is deaf, the family is really confused whether they should teach them lip reading, or sometimes they go to the schools, they tell them that you use sign language. Some people tell them to use lip reading, and there are some people who tell no, you have to use the total communication. So with all these things going on, the parents are really confused. They don't know like what to do and how to take care of the needs of the communication of their child. So like if we say like how the parents can decide the mode of communication for their child, what is the best way to decide the mode of communication?
All parents of deaf children truly are in a very shocked situation, or they go through a lot of trauma, because the first thing is that when a child is born deaf, the first thing is acceptance. People think that they are punished for something that they have done in their previous life, and then they try to move on with life. So now then we have the various options of sign language, oral methods, hearing aids, cochlear implants. So what's really important is that we give the parents all the options. We give them all the options. We tell them that all this is available, and the parents of deaf children should meet adult deaf people. And once they see, they will, because parents always worry of once the child grows up, what will he do, how will he work. But if they meet adult deaf people, they will have some hope that their child will also be employed, their child will also earn his own living and be able to live normally. And then the options that are available, we can try and use those options. There's no need to force one particular option. The option should be given, various options should be given to the parents for them to decide.
What are the things that parents should keep in mind when a deaf child is born? So what are the first thing that the parents should do?
The first thing that the parents must do is they must think that the baby is actually a human first, and being deaf is secondary. You must just say that the child is deaf. It's same as a hearing child. He's not different. Then that will be fine. There's nothing wrong. We don't have to look at it as something is wrong. We have to have acceptance that the child is deaf and look for options after that. Try and communicate. See how the child is communicating with you. If he's using sign language, encourage him. Never stop a child from doing something when communicating. Try and communicate with him as much as possible. Involve him in a lot of things. Don't put him aside. That is very important.
And when we communicate with deaf people, usually we see the people don't know how to communicate with them. And what are the things we should keep in mind while communicating with the deaf people?
First thing is, don't get scared to communicate with deaf people. A deaf person will never bite you. Go meet a deaf person and get his attention. Talk to him. Gesture. Try and let him lip read. Try and let him lip read. Write and explain things to him. Try. The first thing is that you try. So if you've taken one step, the deaf person will take this first step ahead, and this will encourage you both. If we have the attitude of there is a deaf person, we just walk away from there, it's not going to help. But if we try and involve the deaf person with us, communication will be a possibility, and we could really move ahead with this.
So basically, when we communicate with deaf people, we need to take care of certain things. We need to talk to them. We need to involve with them, and we should not try to be away from them. As Dr. Madan Vashist said, there are ways how we can communicate with them. It is not necessary that I should know the sign language to communicate with deaf people, but I should have the willingness, the attitude to talk to them, and I as a human being need to communicate with them in my own way. So don't be afraid of them, don't be apart from them. Be a part of their community, be with them, communicate with them, and try to mix with them. And there are certain things that parents should keep in mind while taking care of the need of the child with deafness, and we need to teach the child the way the child wants to learn. We should not go only for one way. Either I should go for oralism or I should go for sign language, and there are people who are saying total communication. But Dr. Vashist told us total communication is very confusing. We should not try to do things that confuse the people, and the foremost and the first thing is the interest of the child. We need to take care of the interest of the child, and we should do the best for the interest of the child, and this should be our aim as parents, as teachers, as the people who are working with them, either they are ENT doctors or audiologists. We need to tell parents first thing that first you need to communicate with child, and the mode of communication should be decided as per the need of the child, as per the requirement. And with this, I thank Dr. Vashist for being with us, Atya for communicating, for doing the interpretation for us. Thank you all.